Chapter 2 Knitting Machine Parts, Functions and Getting Started. Understanding your knitting machine. ED needle positions. Needles have 4 positions: A, B, C, and D. Position A means no knitting. Needles rest in this position. B and C are knitting positions. Two, knitting needle, latch needle, needle hook, and needle bed. Drifted stitch size dial, adjust fabric density. Higher number, higher density, lower number, lower density. Choose the density based on yarn thickness. Use right position for ribbing and tighter knits. Tinted, numbers 10-13, are for medium thick yarn. The pattern cam lever control is on both sides of the knitting head. Above is the control lever. Below is the pattern cam lever. The pattern cam lever controls the needles in position D. Usually, the pattern cam lever is set for plain knit. Tuck stitch is above. Plain knit is below. For slip, stitch, or jacquard patterns, switch the lever to the slip stitch position. Leave the slip stitch needles at position B. Push the rest to position D5. Cast off comb D. Use according to fabric weight. If our fabric is too wide, we can use an extension plate to connect to cast off combs and extend its length. Weight use in the middle or on the sides of the fabric. When the fabric reaches a certain length, it prevents curling and the carriage from snagging. How to use it will be shown in the demo below. 7. Needle pusher. These come in 1-in-1 and 3-in-1 varieties. They're used when casting on to push the needles to the correct positions. It's an auxiliary tool. Use the 1-in-1 pusher to position the needles. Then use the reverse side to push the needles back to position A. That's how you use it. A ruler for measuring the fabric. 9 nose clip. These are installed on the left and right sides of the machine, making it easy to pause a specific color yarn during knitting without cutting the yarn, or to temporarily hold yarn when alternating colors. Daisy in doubly waste yarn. This yarn is used for casting on before knitting. Only used when the machine becomes stiff after long periods of knitting. It's a lubricant for the knitting needles. 12. Stitch transfer tool. Shell pick needle. Use the stitch transfer tool to increase or decrease stitches. It's also useful for knitting lace patterns. The pick needle repairs dropped stitches, binds off, and knits ribbing. Run Baberwinder instructions. when using a knitting machine. If you're using yarn balls or large cones, because the yarn rolls and the cone's base is large, it can interfere with the tension spring. This can cause uneven tension when pulling the yarn, resulting in uneven fabric tension. So, before you begin your project, it's best to rewind yarn from balls or cones first. Use a yarn winder before you start. First, let's look at this yarn winder. It's small and lightweight, and not too noisy to operate. It's easy to use and carry around. A really portable winding tool. Next, I'll show you how to use this small yarn winder. First, let's look at the parts. It has a winder spindle, wire guide, and handle. And the mounting screw. The mounting screw secures it to the table. We'll place the yarn winder on the edge of the table. Insert the mounting screw into the hole on the yarn winder. Turn the screw clockwise. Securing it firmly to the table. Gently shake the yarn winder. If there's no noticeable wobble, it means we've secured it properly. Next, take the yarn ball. And thread the yarn end through the wire guide. Secure the yarn end in the slot on the winder spindle's edge. Then hold the handle and gently turn it left or right. If you wind it to the left, and then keep winding to the left. If you wind to the right, that way the wire stays aligned. We'll wind the wire to the right. Make sure the wire end doesn't slip out of the groove while winding. Keep winding like this until you have enough. As you can see, we've finished winding. Then cut the wire with scissors and get the wire end ready. Take it off the winder spindle. Hold the yarn end with one hand. Hold the yarn ball with the other. Gently take it off the yarn winder. When weaving, pulls the yarn end from the center, so while weaving, the yarn ball won't roll and affect the tension. Isn't that convenient? How to start weaving? Take out the yarn and wind it into a ball with the yarn winder. Then pull the yarn from the center. Pulling from the center prevents the ball from rolling, which prevents snagging during knitting. Use waste yarn to cast on. First, thread it through the yarn guide. Then clamp the yarn in the tension slot. Adjust the yarn tension with the tension dial. Higher numbers mean looser tension. Lower numbers mean tighter tension. Adjust the tension to match the yarn's thickness. Then thread the yarn through the inside of the needle. The tension spring pulls the yarn. Adjust the yarn tension. Snap it in the slot. Now the yarn is threaded. Let's start knitting. Casting on. Push all needles to position B with a needle pusher. Then move the carriage back and forth twice. Align all needles neatly. Then with a 1-in-1 needle pusher, start at the second needle from the left. Push every other needle to position A. And remove the yarn from the clip. Place it in yarn feeder 1. There are 2 yarn feeders. Usually, when knitting with one color, just to place the yarn in yarn feeder 1. For 2-color or multicolor knitting, place the yarn in yarn feeder 2. Pull the yarn tail to the back of the machine, not the front. Set the stitch size dial to the desired knitting density. Choose the density based on the yarn's thickness. Knit 1 row. Now reset the row counter to 0. Then attach the cast-off comb to the loops. Align the cast-off comb center with the 0 position and attach it. Place the excess yarn from the right. onto the cast-off comb's hooks. Hang the yarn tail from the needles onto the cast-off comb though. Now use the needle pusher to move all needles from position A to B. Remember to push the last knitting needle on the right to position B. This is crucial. Let's start knitting now. Now remove the take-up yarn. Thread the knitting yarn through yarn feeder 1. And secure it with the yarn clip. Now take out the yarn we'll be knitting with. Thread the yarn as before and secure it in the tension slot. Adjust the yarn tension using the tension dial. Then thread the yarn through the inside of the needle. And use the tension spring to fine-tune the tension. Place the knitting yarn into the yarn feeder. Now don't forget to adjust the density. Because the waste yarn and knitting yarn have different densities. Next, continue knitting with the yarn end facing the back. Using the same method. We can hang the yarn on the cast-off comb. Now place the weight in the middle of the cast-off comb to add weight to the piece. Once the knitted piece reaches a certain length, to prevent the piece from curling and the machine head from catching the yarn, hang the weights on the left and right ends of the piece. And that completes the casting on and knitting.